Is Nick Nurse set to take the job with one of the Raptors' biggest rivals? The Portland Trailblazers are apparently open for business with a 3rd overall selection. What does that mean for the Toronto Raptors? And is it time the NBA implements veteran leadership in every locker room? This is Hoop Talks. What is up, everybody? Hoop Talks. Justin Pooney, Karina Mustafa, Jelani Goodridge Reed.
Yeah, I know it's a tongue twister.
Oh,
I mess it up sometimes.
Actually, I just finished eating lunch right now, so like.
What'd you have?
Pita wrap.
Okay.
Yeah, with a little fries, some chicken in there, some onions, nice can of Sprite to wash it down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Quench the thirst.
What's wrong? You okay?
Some tantalizing content.
Yeah, speaking of tantalizing content, it's a long weekend coming up this weekend, so that'll be nice. You know, the NBA conference finals are in full motion, but let's talk about coaches and coaching hires, because that right now is such a hot topic. And Nick Nurse apparently is set to meet with the Philadelphia 76ers, everybody. My, oh my, how ironic would that be? Nick Nurse coaching one of the Raptors' biggest rivals, coaching a guy who he brought to tears in Game 7 of the 2019 playoffs, I'm sure, as you guys all will remember. A team now that will be without James Harden, as it looks like reports are also indicating that James Harden is going to go back to Houston to play for the Houston Rockets. I don't know how he and Ime Udoka are really going to work out, but James Harden is set to go back to Houston. But let's stick with Nick Nurse and the Philadelphia 76ers that are set to meet next week. Karina, let's start off with you. What are your initial thoughts on this? And can Nick Nurse be a good fit with Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers?
That's the thing. My initial gut feeling is like, I don't know if him and Embiid would actually be able to work together in a locker room. If we're looking at what happened with the Raptors now, we saw that egos clashed between Nick Nurse and the Raptors. And I think with the comments that Joel Embiid has made about Nick Nurse in the past, it would be a very awkward locker room to me if Nick Nurse were able to jump in there and start being head coach. Number two, I think if he were to get hired in Philly, any expectations of them playing their young guys, out the window.
Yeah, I mean, like, Tyrese Maxey is a younger player, but he's well established now in the NBA. I actually see this as a good thing for the Philadelphia 76ers and a smart hire for the Philadelphia 76ers, because Nick Nurse knows how to play. It'd be a fresh start for him, fresh start for the 76ers. Yep. They won't have all that Doc Rivers bad luggage with them, with the playoff failure. Exactly. Yeah. Nick Nurse is the guy that pushes his star players to the max. Do you think that he could get even more out of Joel Embiid, a guy we saw win MVP this year and should have won last year too?
I think so. First of all, he would play him a lot more.
Did you notice how he snuck in the should have won last year too?
Oh wait, I didn't. Wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you're slick like me, you can get away with a whole lot of things.
Please. Not when I'm sitting here.
Oh please, but no, I disagree with that. Jokic, the rightful MVP last year, but yeah, I think, like, first of all, he'd give Embiid so many minutes, right? Because he loves the minutes thing. We've seen it here in Toronto, and with the stars, he trusts the stars only. But at the same time, I would say the Sixers are a deeper team than the Raptors. Just looking at both rosters, so he wouldn't have to give 40 plus minutes to every single starter every single night.
He probably will, though.
He probably will. But I just, like Karina said, I don't really see it, man. And it's not because I don't want him there, because I have, some agendas against the Sixers at times, being a Raptors fan. But I don't see it, man. And the other thing that was surprising to me, I've seen the reports saying that they didn't talk to Embiid before getting rid of Doc, and he and Doc were really close. Yeah. That to me is kind of alarming. I think you got to at least speak to your MVP player, right? About a firing of your head coach. And I get it. Yeah. It was probably time to do so. I'm not shocked by it, but I would have the conversation. No.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing with that whole Philly Doc situation. Like, reports started coming out that it was James Harden was the one pushing behind it, but now today it comes out that James Harden wants to go back to Houston, which has been there for this entire year. So I don't know how much stock to really take in it. But look, Joel Embiid did say last year, he's a great coach, obviously, what he's been able to accomplish. I've always been a big fan of him. But he also said that I told him to respectfully stop bitching in the playoffs last year. But look, I think Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid could work very well. I think these two need each other. I think it might be a perfect marriage and harmony for these two.
I can fix him.
No, exactly, because Joel Embiid is at that point in his career now where he needs to win. He
Yeah, I know that.
needs
I
to
don't
win.
disagree with
He
that.
needs to have
I'm looking
playoff
at the
success.
next 2 years for the
Exactly.
Sixers. That's the window of this.
And Nick Nurse
thing.
needs to repair whatever
Image.
lasting, lingering, taste was
Because people
his time in
think he's
Toronto.
not okay. People still think he's a good coach, but
But they think
it's been a minute since
they think he's more. He
2019.
cares more about stopping the other team's best player than winning games,
yeah.
right? So I think him in Philly, right, and him with Joel Embiid, two guys that need to prove that hey, we need to win and be successful. Otherwise, Nick Nurse won Coach of the Year, but that's 3 years ago, right? Joel Embiid was the MVP this year, but look what happened in Game 7 in Boston, right? These guys need each other, I think, and I believe if Nick Nurse can get it in there. Talk to Joel Embiid and they can hash out whatever they have. I think there's respect from both sides there, and I think Nick Nurse can really, really sink his teeth into this Philadelphia team and get them to play, especially the best players, basketball and be committed. Because you saw that in Toronto. You saw his best players, not so much this year, but years previously, right? Like, look at that job he did the season after they won the title, after they lost Kawhi Leonard, right? That was a coaching masterclass. He had his best players playing their best basketball. He helped Fred VanVleet become an all-star. Pascal Siakam, an all-NBA player. OG Anunoby, an all-defensive player. I know a lot of it's on the players and the hard work they put in the offseason, but Nick Nurse has something to do with that as well. Right. And I believe that if Nick Nurse goes to Philly, you're going to see a more committed, potentially Joel Embiid. You're going to see a more defensive responsibly Tyrese Maxey, a Tobias Harris. So I think Nick Nurse and Philly could be very successful.
What happens if James Harden walks?
That's fine. I don't think James Harden and Nick Nurse were gonna mesh anyway. I don't think James Harden
in terms of like
and
their
Ime
roster,
Udoka would mesh anyway.
In terms of their roster, though, like what does that do for the 76ers' success?
It frees up a lot of money to get some other guard help, right? Whether they want to get
they
Fred
better hit up
VanVleet.
Portland.
We'll get this guy's been cheating on the rundown because we're gonna switch to Portland in a second. But I think whatever happens with James Harden, right, it frees up some money for the 76ers to maybe give Tyrese Maxey a larger role handling the ball, right? Or do they go out there and maybe look at a Fred VanVleet, or do they look at another guard out there, right? That's a free agent guard, or do they go via trade? Which
I feel like you've brought up Fred VanVleet following Nick Nurse on the show.
Well, that's what
I
feel like. Phoenix would be the better option for Nick Nurse. I think that's more of an option or a better option for Nick Nurse. I think he would fit there.
We'll see. Again, it's just a meeting. We're getting way too down the line, but I think it's definitely something there. But now, speaking of also something that's going on, the NBA draft lottery went down a couple days ago. We did talk about that. The Portland Trailblazers are apparently open for business, according to Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report. He had this to say in an article. The Trailblazers, of course, are in an effort to continue building a contending roster around its superstar. He said star. I'm going to say superstar, Damian Lillard, and is expected to make the pick available for trade. My oh my, everybody.
Did you see Dame tweeting over the weekend?
Yes,
or
Dame
over the
tweeted.
week?
Trolling.
He's just trolling. It's
Yeah.
fine. He's not going anywhere. But I want to say this, guys. I've seen a lot of rumors on Twitter of Raptors fans and people out there saying, oh, we could just trade Pascal for the 3rd overall pick. No, it's going to be Pascal plus something, right? Or Pascal plus, or it's going to be a much bigger trade, right? What do you guys think? Pascal Siakam, I've seen OG Anunoby's name bandied about with the Portland Trailblazers. I'm going to paint the picture for you guys, okay? I'm going to paint this picture. Paint
it on the canvas.
3rd overall pick. Anthony Simons, Naz Little. Throw in another. Maybe. And you're not going to get, I don't know if you're going to get Shaedon Sharp.
I doubt it.
But if you can get Anthony Simons, the 3rd overall pick, Naz Little for Pascal Siakam, I'm taking that in a heartbeat.
Sorry, Karina, I don't know your answer, but I'm doing it as well. Because I've seen it with Pascal Siakam, and he's a good player. I like Pascal. I do. He's an all-star, all-NBA. We've seen it. But when it comes to getting over that hump, being a contender in the Eastern Conference, looking across the board in the Eastern Conference, when you have Pascal as your 1A, hey man, we've seen what's happened with the Raptors. You can't really go anywhere. So that's why I feel at this point, where are the Raptors going? So many questions this offseason. I'd probably look to get younger, and you get a talented player. You never know if it's going to be Brandon Miller or if it's going to be Scoot. And I would love that to happen for the Toronto Raptors. Scoot and Scotty.
Scotty, pick and roll. Woo!
So I would do it.
I'm gonna detach my feelings from this and just say that if I were Portland, I would do that. I would want to get Pascal. if I'm the Raptors, it ultimately depends on like you kind of said, like what they want to do moving forward.
And the coach.
What
And
the coach,
yeah.
what their goal is, what they're trying to do. If it happens, it happens. I don't think any of these deals would be bad deals. It's just a matter of like what the reaction might actually be from Raptors fans.
I think it would be mixed emotions because you're already seeing it right now.
So the funny thing, this Bleacher Report article, right? They have a bunch of mock trades post lottery. There's another trade in here that says Fred VanVleet sign and trade to the Washington Wizards for Daniel Gafford, Johnny Davis, Isaiah Todd, and the number 8 overall pick. Right? I'm just saying, like, look, like, and then, okay, so here's the Siakam one that Bleacher Report predicted, right? It was Anthony Simons, Naz Little, Keon Johnson, the number 3 overall pick for Pascal Siakam. But here's the thing, right? The Blazers are in a position right now where they need to make Damian Lillard happy, right?
Yeah.
Does acquiring another former All-Star like Pascal Siakam make him happy? I would think so.
Yeah.
Right? Pascal puts up, what 24 last year? 24 points a game.
around that, yeah.
You pair him with, again, him and Dame with, if they can get Jeremy Grant back. If they get Siakam, they're probably not going to get Jeremy Grant back. But I'm very intrigued to see what the Raptors will do because it's very evident that going younger is important. Right, going younger and developing young players is something that Masai Ujiri wants. He wants to play a more up-tempo brand of basketball. He wants to play more exciting basketball. And as Jelani said, right, like we saw what Pascal Siakam was as your best player. Is that what you're striving to become? And I get it. A lot of fans and stuff like that out there love Pascal Siakam. They want to hold on to him because he won Most Improved Player once and he helped win a championship.
Look, I like him a lot,
but he's just not that.
You got to be real about it.
But you got to be realistic, right? This is a business. This is about winning. This is about improving the Toronto Raptors and creating sustainable success for the Toronto Raptors, right? Pascal Siakam as your best player on the Toronto Raptors is nothing sustainable for success whatsoever. And the proof is in the pudding. We've seen it the last couple of years. What has that gotten you? Nothing. Right? And I think it's time, if you can get a guy like Scoot Henderson or even Brandon Miller, higher ceiling, right? High talent, guys that could create their own shot. Scoot Henderson right now could roll in the NBA and probably score 20 points, right? And he's only going to get better. And he's younger. He fits the mold with what Scotty Barnes is. And I think that right there is something the Raptors need to look at because you can't be running this back, keep on running this back.
You can't, no.
So.
But you'd keep OG then.
I'd trade him too. I'd trade them all, to be honest with you. If I'm the Toronto Raptors, strip this whole...
Portland wanted to get OG. Mm-hmm.
But you'd need more then.
For what?
Because the original trade offer
yeah,
was
it's
just for
included
Pascal.
Siakam. If you wanted to include OG, Pascal, then it's going to be an even bigger deal. You're going to need even more, right?
Yeah.
You might even need to bring a third team in to help split the assets around. But if I'm the Toronto Raptors, everybody is on the table to be moved here that's under contract other than Scotty Barnes, right? Whether that's OG, Pascal, Fred's going to be a free agent. He can determine where he wants to go. Gary Trent Jr., right? That to me is where the Raptors are. Everything and every stone must be turned over and see what's out there.
And
right?
the league knows what's going on in Toronto.
Exactly.
They know that these guys are available. They know that they're good players available, so you never know what's going to happen.
Now, I want to finish off on a little bit more of a different topic. No rumors or anything like that. So we all know about Ja Morant. We don't want to dive into all the issues and stuff like that about, the flashing the gun. There's no suspension yet, but we expect it's going to be a big one. But I want to ask you guys this question. I've been listening a lot of stuff talking about how the NBA needs to have veteran leadership in the locker room because you get these guys coming 19, 20 years old, given hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't know how to be a true pro. And Charles Barkley, I was listening to a podcast with him, and he was saying that when he came in the league, Dr. J and Moses Malone basically saved his career. They helped him get in shape. They taught him how to dress properly. They taught him how to deal with the media. And I think that right now, especially in the NBA, where these guys are put in positions where they are everywhere, right? Everybody knows who Ja Morant is. Everybody knows who Jason Tatum is, Luka Doncic, right? They are not just North American superstars, but they're global superstars, right? Do you guys think that, and I'll start with you first, Jelani, do you think that the NBA needs to have, I don't know how you make it mandatory, but a guy, just a player who's had a certain number of games, but a veteran leader in each locker room, like a guy like Udonis Haslem or whomever, that guy that you're not going to notice what he does on the court, but in the locker room and away from the court, he's going to teach the young guys how to be a pro, how to act responsibly as an adult.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And you mentioned Haslam. That's a great example. You could even look like Iguodala. I know he got hurt, but he became like a player coach essentially, right? And he was helping out the younger guys on that Warriors squad. And you see it all the time. These guys talk about having a vet when they get in the league. Lou Williams, he looked up to Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson took him under his wing. He used to boss him around and stuff like that. But he showed him the ropes, and I think that's very important. Right now in Memphis, I almost said Minnesota. In Memphis,
Minnesota needs some leadership too.
They kind of do
Yeah.
too. But in
Because
Memphis,
we were talking about the Minnesota Lynx. That's
yeah,
why.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's right. Block 1. But in Memphis, you see kind of a lack of vets. I know that Steven Adams is there. But do they really listen to bro? No, they don't. Let's just be real. And I think that's been a problem there. Taylor Jenkins, respected coach as well, but how much of a voice does he have there? Because we saw it throughout the year.
He's also young.
Yeah, he's a younger coach. So throughout the year, we saw issues with the Grizzlies specifically in terms of just being immature. And Ja Morant, I mean, he's such a great player. He is a superstar player. And the hope is moving forward that he's going to mature. But again, just talking about what Memphis has, do they have that guy in the locker room that he will look up to and respect? I don't know. This is not the same Memphis team from a decade ago that had those guys. Conley would have been perfect for a guy like Ja, right? They don't have him. Marcus Gasol's not there. Zebo's not there anymore. And Tony Allen's not there anymore. So it's a different look for sure.
I think making it mandatory is a bit tricky where like you get into the issues of like, okay, so then you're taking away that one roster spot that maybe could be given to somebody else just to have an older guy.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you create another position that is kind of maybe like a player coach type of situation where you bring someone in solely for that reason to be the veteran presence, then maybe it could like work that way. But I agree with the overall sentiment that there should be a veteran in those locker rooms. I think we've seen this theme kind of repeatedly throughout the season where teams need leadership. There's a lot of personalities on every team. They all need to be managed. And that is just as important as how talented you are.
Yeah, I know. You look at the last 4 teams in the conference finals right now, right? You talk about they have veteran leadership across the board. Of course, LeBron James, right? Probably, if not the second or first best player of all time, right? Then you got in Denver.
I was going to say the veteran.
He is the veteran example. He's the gold standard. But you also got other vets through. AD's been a lot there in the league for a minute, and stuff like that. But then you got Miami, of course, Udonis Haslem, Jimmy Butler, the whole Heat culture. But that Kyle Lowry, right? In Boston, again, they're young, but you have a guy like Al Horford who's been in the league for a while, right?
Yep.
Even Blake Griffin for whatever he's there for. But I would say more so Al Horford.
Get well soon, Nor. Shout out Blake Griffin.
And then even Denver,
too.
Mike
They got
Malone,
Jeff
Green, right? They got Mike Malone there, who I think is a great leader as a coach. So you look at the success of the league, right? You need people that are well respected and that players will listen to and resonate with. And I think that's something that's very important. Hell, look at the Charlotte Hornets, right? They need a veteran.
They've been struggling for that.
Yeah,
They
need a
Big
veteran.
time.
They need a veteran leader. So that is something that I think is very interesting. I think Adam Silver kind of has to look at how they can, make sure that players have somebody to go to, because it's with coaches, you can't really resonate with some coaches or front office. So having a player there that you can talk to and a guy or the person in that locker room, that can be a leader and just help these young guys out. So that would be something that we were looking forward to. Well, we're also looking forward to a lot of basketball this
I'm looking forward
weekend.
to the right camera.
Yes, this camera, look at that camera, every camera. Anyway, this has been Hoop Talks. We'll be back on Wednesday because it's a holiday on Monday. Take care.
Let's go.